On this day in 1969, Concorde made its first ever flight in Toulouse, France. It was in the air for 27 minutes before returning to land. But what was so special about this plane? And why don't you hear about it anymore? Well, Concorde was special because it was supersonic. It flew at twice the speed of sound. It flew faster than the rotation of the Earth. A flight from London to New York usually takes about 8 hours. In Concorde, you could do it in just under 3.5. It was very expensive. It was a luxury trip, as I am sure you can imagine. The standard return fare from London to New York was £6,636. They served lobster, caviar, champagne, fine cigars. The Queen would travel Concorde, and when she did, she always sat in seat number 1A. So where did Concorde come from? It was a project that was worked on by Britain and France. The name Concorde was given by the French president Charles de Gaulle. In French, it means agreement. Work had begun in 1954, and the first commercial flight took place on the 21st of January 1976. The project ran massively over budget. It was estimated that it would cost $1.68 billion in today's money. In reality, the project ended up costing more like 11 to 16 billion pounds. They expected to produce about 350 aircraft, but they only ended up with 20. While it was a cool novelty and around 2.5 million people travelled by Concorde, it wasn't exactly something that the average person could afford to do. And then disaster struck. On the 25th of July 2000, an Air France Concorde crashed shortly after taking off from Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris. All 100 passengers and 9 crew, along with 4 people on the ground, were killed. A metallic strip had fallen from the Continental Airlines flight that was ahead of them, puncturing Concorde's left tyre. The tyre then exploded with a piece of rubber hitting the fuel tank, causing a leak and then a subsequent fire. The crew received a fire warning, so they shut down engine number 2. Unfortunately, engine number 1 didn't have enough power to gain the altitude and speed required, and the plane crashed, landing into the Hotelissimo Le Relais Bleu Hotel below. Concorde had actually had an excellent safety record up until this point, and arguably this wasn't even an issue with their safety, it was just a horrible accident. And improvements were made to the aircrafts to ensure that this could not happen again. But the incident did taint the reputation of the airliners, and the grounding of flights following 9/11 didn't exactly help. Given how expensive Concorde was to run, they couldn't afford to be flying with empty seats, so on the 10th of April 2003, British Airways announced that they were retiring their fleet of 7. The last commercial flight of the Concordes was on the 24th of October 2003. And you can still go and see the aircrafts on display. They look so cool. They've got really long noses. There's one at the Imperial War Museum in Duxford, and there's one at the Fleet Air Arm Museum as well, apparently. I do hope that they bring it back one day at a price point that people can afford. Like, it sounds spectacular, doesn't it? Have you ever flown Concorde? Do you know anyone who has? Let us know in the comments below if you do, because, you lucky sausage, that sounds awesome. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Why not subscribe? And I'll see you tomorrow.